We talk openly about sex and drugs in this episode, so if you have little ears nearby or you aren't ready to have a discussion like this with your kiddos, maybe opt for headphones instead. Enjoy!
You're listening to the Raw Honeys podcast, the place to be real, be love, and befriend. Join Chelsea Fine, Heather Hildenbrand, and me, Amanda Axel. We're real friends who aren't afraid to talk about the raw truth of real life. If you're looking for a group of girlfriends who will support and encourage you when the going gets tough, this is the place to be. Pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and enjoy the show.
Hey honeys, it is Heather Hildenbrand here, and I'm so excited about today's episode. I'm a little biased, I will admit right now, but I'm excited because I'm sitting here talking to my daughter, Brooke, and I just can't wait for you guys to hear from her because we just have a lot of great talks. We get fired up really easily together. And so we both get on an issue and that's it. Everybody else just is quiet to let us rant. And I decided we needed to rant on air just for you guys to hear so we can share it with you. Because she's just really passionate about a lot of things that matter, that I'm always impressed that matter to her as a teenager. And I just thought it would be a really cool, fun thing for us to do, to hear from a teenager who doesn't share our view of the world in terms of, they're in a different place in their lives. And I think a lot of times adults write off kids in terms of having an opinion or bringing something valuable to the table. And I'm always, always impressed with the fact that Brooke does have an opinion and basically make sure it's heard. And I, of course, love that about her. And I really hope that she got that from me, and I want to take credit for it, obviously. But it's really impressive to me, and I'm really proud of that. And so anyway, I just thought it would be really fun to talk about that. And we're going to do sort of a mother-daughter episode of, the thing that parents always do, comparing how it was back in the day to how it is now. But I want to do it in a way that really highlights, because the world is changing so fast these days, what it is like to be a teenager today, and how that probably is totally different from when maybe we were all teenagers, and also how a lot of it is still the same. So, so let's do that. And so first, I am going to let her introduce herself to you guys and maybe tell everybody a little bit about you.
All right, I'm Brooke. I'm 16. I'm a sophomore in high school. I just like to watch TV, hang out with my friends, and I read. And my dream job is to be Secretary of State, hopefully one day.
And, okay, because it's reading, and I also want to take credit for this. You love to read, and you love to read a lot of the same books I do that I've loved, and you'll read them and like them. And so that's really exciting. And your dream job being Secretary of State, that you probably didn't get from me. I mean, you got your opinions, that's for sure, but that's really ambitious. It's really big, and it's really amazing. So what made you want to do that?
Well, for a while, I've wanted to matter one day, and just Secretary of State dealing with foreign affairs and just keeping the peace, that just sounds really appealing to me. And basically, I could do anything as long as I'm making a difference. And if politics is the way it has to go, then count me in.
So you know that a lot of adults feel like politics is a way that won't make any difference because it's so broken. So you don't feel like that? You feel like you can really change things?
Well, everybody can do their own thing to change things. And I feel like the different things that you can contribute your talents and your views to can help change the world in your own way. So I'm very opinionated, and I just want people to hear me. And I feel like what bigger outlet for that is to hold office and to try to make a difference, not just to one community, but to the whole United States of America.
And the whole world.
Yeah.
And so basically what you're saying is I have so many strong opinions. I need a really big platform to be able to share them.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that for sure, because that's just fascinating to me. Because really, truthfully, when I was your age, I wasn't this concerned with like the world. My world was really small. My world was just my world. It was just, my focus was on like my day to day and, whatever problems I had. And those seemed so big to me as a teenager that I could not get past them to think about politics or our government or our global problems. And you can, and it blows my mind because it just wasn't like that for me. And so I just think it's really cool. And so, but let's talk about what it means to be a teenager right now and like what kind of problems you feel like you face. And what are these things that you're so able to put into perspective that you can still think about the global issues and everything that you're interested in?
Well, a lot of the pressures that we have now do reflect in the real world. So it's not hard for me to like care about stuff like that because a lot of it does affect me, like schools and like climate change and like just bigger issues like that. Like, yeah, they're big issues, but they do affect people individually. So it's easy to care about them, and just like my struggles like in school and everything like that can be reflected like on a bigger platform and be seen. Like it's not just me that goes through it, it's people all over the world. So
do other kids in your school feel like this too, do you think? Or like kids in your friend group? Or do you feel like it's kind of mostly you? Or
I mean, I know there's other people like in my school that feel like that, a selected few that can look past their own lives and, care about other things too. But it's high school, so you don't really expect it a lot from a lot of kids. But I know my friends like share the same views as me, but it's not about really like how much like you share the same views as someone, but like someone may be more inclined to take action on it than others. So it's not that my friends and people I know don't care. It's that a lot of people think, well, what can I do about it? So they don't really try. So in terms of that, like I would say I'm one of the only ones in my school that like would take action on it.
Yeah. Do you think that the way that school feels to kids is like part of the reason they probably already feel kind of discouraged? Like, what difference can I make? Do you feel like school and the way the administration or teachers or the pressure or whatever like plays into that? Is there a sense of that at school too?
Oh, 100%. Because they never are preparing us for some jobs that are like bigger than us, is the way they put it. Like they're going to teach us math and science and social studies, all the stuff that they have to teach us for really jobs of us sitting behind desks. Like they don't really put as much effort into preparing us for jobs that will make a difference rather than like normal jobs that people would go into, like jobs that are taught in school. Like you're not taught activism. You're not taught to care about the environment. You're not taught to care about bigger issues. Like you're taught how to add, subtract, and divide. And
right.
So, yeah.
Totally. It's so black and white. So, okay, one difference between you and I, just for everybody listening, is that I was homeschooled through high school. So when I'm asking you these questions, I actually don't know how to compare, except for what I've heard. And, but, people told me or whatever. As far as what it really is like. I mean, I went to public school in middle school. I can imagine, but your personality type is that you put a lot of pressure on yourself. And so I don't know if most kids your age are doing putting that kind of pressure on themselves where they're like freaking out if they're going to get a C instead of a B or whatever. Because for the record, guys, I never threaten her about good grades or bad grades. It's never been a thing, but you will berate yourself. You will like put yourself into panic mode if your teacher hasn't put a grade in the grade book. So now your grade is down and it shouldn't be. And you're like constantly checking. I've never checked your online grade book, FYI. I'm sure there are parents that do. And like, maybe I should be, but I just know with your personality, I don't need to because you're already going to tell me because you're pissed at a teacher for not putting a test in soon enough to like pull your grade up today. And so you're freaking out. Are a lot of kids your age like that?
I think definitely yes, but in different forms. Like I know, especially in my friend group, like we push each other to do better and everything. So that's kind of a way we help each other with that because everybody's stressed about school, but it's different for people. Like I'm stressed about school because I know what I want to do with my life and I know that I have to have good grades to do it. But some other people are stressed about school because their parents stress them out, or it's their like only way out of like their life, or just other stuff like that. Like everybody's stressed, but in their different ways.
Right.
So, but of course it's high school. So there's the selected few that don't really care. But for majority, I would say people are stressed all the time.
Yeah. Which leads to a certain kind of energy.
Oh yeah.
That's just in there all the time. Like I walk in to pick you up and I feel like I can feel it. Yeah. It's like in the air. It's this like
it's this layer
sucking
that you walk through.
energy.
Yeah. As soon as I walk into school, I feel like I'm just walking through a layer. And when I enter the door, it's just like you can automatically feel the like stress and the sadness. And it's just like not a welcoming place.
Yeah.
And it's no secret.
Yeah.
They don't try to hide that.
Well, and it's not even just you. Like everybody feels it, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Even the teachers, you can tell. They're not happy when they walk in that place. No, they want to leave.
Yeah. It's true. Because I wondered because you and I both are very sensitive to energies, like sort of empathic that way.
Yeah.
And so I wondered if it was just us, if like we can feel it, but not everybody. But I feel like everybody that walks into there feels that.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we're all connected in that way. Like,
yeah,
especially like my group of friends, one person can be having a weird day, and as soon as we mention that, everybody's saying that they've had a weird day. Like everybody's energies are the same in the school.
Was it like that in middle school?
I don't think we were in tune with that in middle school. So it could have been, we might just not have been aware of that's what we were feeling. But it definitely is a different level of stress between middle school and high school.
Well, like the energy when you walk in. I don't remember ever feeling like that when I walked into middle schools or Austin's middle schools.
No, I don't think so.
Oof, it's just next level. It's not fun. And we talk about this a lot. Like, I'm always reminding you, it's not like this forever. And it is tough for you right now because you have no choice. You have to go to school every day.
Yeah.
Grown-ups, adults, like if we go to a job like that makes us feel like that every day, we do have the choice, even if it's scary as hell, we have the choice to change jobs, to put ourselves in a different environment. For the most part, when you're grown, you choose your environment, you create your environment, and you can like change it if it's terrible, right? But when you're in high school, you have to go to school every day. You just have to. So you're stuck in that.
Yes.
And it's terrible. And I think adults don't give it enough credit because I think at least like in my generation, it was like, if the first moment I would say that to my parents or any kid would say that to their parents, the automatic response is like, oh, give me a break. You have it so good. All you have to do is go to school every day.
It's still like that.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. And like, I get it. You're not paying bills and you don't have these stresses, but it's different stress. It doesn't mean it's no stress. It's like, I think you don't get enough credit for the fact that you are being forced into a place all day that affects your mood in such a like contrasting way. It's strong. It's like you have to work hard to push through that, or like when you get home every day, you're just kind of detoxing from it.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen that from you, and I'm sure it's like that for a lot of kids. And so I just want to advocate for a second and say, I get it. And I'm on your side because I can't imagine having to, well, I can as an adult, I've been in situations that I created, just a bad, social environment for myself or something that I felt stuck in. And it's the worst, but I can't imagine it being your life every single day, Monday through Friday, all day in and day out. Like you don't have any options.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure that adds to the stress. And I just think maybe it's, you don't get enough credit for that. I feel like.
So thank you.
Okay. So there's your credit right there. You still have to go to school every day though.
Great.
Okay. So I want to talk more about school because, and again, this could be because I didn't go to public school in high school. It could be, I did. In my junior year, I took a couple classes. I was still considered homeschooled because it was only 2 classes and that was the way the law worked or whatever. So it was nice. I wasn't on like the technical role. So if I missed a day, like I didn't get a report card, like it was very under the radar. Nice. But then I was always worried that if I got caught in the halls and I told them my name, they would think I like broke into school because I wouldn't be on a list anywhere. So I was kind of nervous every day when I would leave. Like they would be switching classes for third period and I would be leaving. And I'm like, oh, if somebody stops me, they're going to think I'm a criminal and just like a creeper, just like around. I don't know. It was cool, but it wasn't cool. So like I was in that environment. Like I kind of know, and maybe it's also my personality a little bit that I have such a strong like justice and fairness personality. So when you tell me these things that happen to you at school, I get really riled up because I'm like, it's not fair. If anything is not fair, like I lose my mind about that.
I know.
And sometimes you do it to me on purpose because you like to see the show.
Yep.
And so like, I'm sure you get that from me though, as far as like how it upsets you, but it does, it upsets me. It's an issue that I'm like passionate about now because I feel like I have to advocate for you, because when you're a teenager, when you're under 18, you don't have a voice. No. You really don't have a voice. Your parents are your voice, but when your parents aren't around, like at school, you just don't have a voice. Like in terms of, we've talked about this a bunch where, adults, like other teachers or people in the administration will talk to you in a way that's like, you're guilty until proven more guilty. I mean, right? Is that how it feels?
Yeah.
And you were talking to me about this administrator recently. The guy, was he like a principal or vice principal?
Yeah, yes, vice principal.
Okay. We can't name him. We won't name him on the podcast, but like he came into your class, right? And he was trying to fuss at you without giving you a chance to respond, right?
Oh yeah.
He just assumed what? You were like passing notes.
Passing notes. Yeah. When I was finishing a project with my partner. So, just comes up and just starts talking to you really nasty. And you get that a lot in school. Like they don't really give you a chance to defend themselves. Like they see what they see and you can't change that. Right. And it's not the first time, definitely won't be the last, but it's definitely, they talk to you a lot different when there's not an authority figure that's like not them, that's not there. Like your parents aren't there, so they can talk to you however they want to. Yeah. And even if other administrators see that or hear about it, they don't do anything about it because it's their colleagues. They're not going to say anything. Right. So it's really a lose-win situation, and you're always losing, always.
So we had that incident a few weeks ago, and he thought Brooke was passing notes, and when she was actually just doing a project that her teacher had given them instructions to do. So he was just in the room. He wasn't the teacher, but he was like in the room, supposed to be monitoring. So of course he doesn't know the context of the directions you guys were given or anything. He just like automatically assumed you were passing notes, came up, accused you of passing notes. And when you open your mouth to tell him, no, I wasn't, he just kept talking over you, interrupting you to yell at you even more and tell you were a bad kid and like just all this stuff, like garbage, like unnecessary, disrespectful. And to me, that it's just a huge thing for me. Like you still at 16, you still deserve respect. You know, just because you're 16, you're still a minor, or worse, because they're in charge of you. Yeah. Does not erase the need for respect. It fired me up. Well, and then, it escalated, and you ended up in the office over something else. It was a similar situation. It was assumptions and people not giving you a chance. Didn't even bother to ask, like, what's the real situation here? Just like assumed you were guilty of something, and that was that. Yeah. And then threatening you, but didn't ever call me. Didn't ever call your parents over it. This has been happening all year.
They knew they were wrong. So they knew if they got someone involved that did speak for you and did have a voice, that they would be called out. And the reason that they talk to us the way they do is because they know that they won't be called out about it until they met me. And then now they're not safe anymore.
I do love that you stand up for yourself in a way that you're not being disrespectful back. You know, you stood up for yourself so many times over the past couple of years, more and more frequently, but never once has that action escalated into something where you were disrespectful and they had to call me, or it always shuts them up. Like the dress code one that you were telling me about. What was that one?
I was just sitting in the cafeteria with my friends, and a male administrator came over to my table and tried to dress code one of my friends who had a bra strap showing, like God forbid, and completely walked past every other table in the cafeteria to come to my table and dress code her. And in the process, walked past a guy that was sitting right behind us wearing a shirt with like a girl's like boobs, like on his shirt, just chilling there.
Just chilling there.
Yeah. And so he comes over to try to dress code her. And of course she doesn't know what to say. Like, we're just trying to enjoy our lunch. And so of course I speak up and say like, hey, like, you're going to dress code her for this, but you completely just walked past this guy for having an even more like provocative thing on his shirt. Like, shouldn't that change? Shouldn't that be a difference just because she's a girl?
Right.
And doesn't have anything to say about it, just walks away.
He just turned around and walked away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're not used to somebody pointing out the double standard, which you and I both get really fired up about. And I've already talked about on this podcast about how it is a double standard, but it really, really is, especially with dress code at school. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it way more often than that where.
Oh, it's happened to me. But I mean, I've never gotten dress coded because I know what to say about it, but they try.
I was going to say, I've never gotten a call or a letter or anything about
they try, but it never works. I'm too good.
This is why you're going to be in politics. You just talked your way out of it, basically.
Yeah.
Pointed out why they were wrong, respectfully.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk more. I just want to talk a little bit more about school because we spend a lot of time talking about the different pressures of school and just how, some of them are the same. Some of them are probably the same as, when I was your age. But one of the things I know that's definitely different is the stress and like sort of the fear of school shootings.
Yeah.
And we talk about this a lot because it is an issue and it's one that worries you a lot. And I mean, understandably, and I can imagine it worries a lot of kids all the time, every day, probably, that you just never know. And you have to go to school sort of in fear of that all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it scares me too, as your mom, as a parent, but I do think that it's a different kind of fear that you're the one walking through the doors.
Oh yeah.
And that is really scary. So do you still have, at one point you told me that you had an alert set on your phone for the news that would like notify you of stuff like that or just news?
I still do.
You still do?
Yeah. Just anytime there's something either in the area or just like globally, like of course you can choose what you want to see on your news and everything. Mm-hmm. So I just always want to be updated on that stuff because it is scary. Like we go into school every single day to learn and then you get a notification on your phone that there was just another school shooting. Doesn't matter where it is in the world. Like you're in the same environment as they are. And there's someone in there like threatening their lives. Yeah. And it could be anywhere. It could be you. So yeah. And especially because how chill the school is about it. Like we don't really have any precautions being taken every single day, no matter the horrific events that go on in other places, because it's not us. Like we're not going to take any action against it, or we're not going to try to make anything safer within our school so it doesn't happen for us. Like after the Parkland shooting and stuff like that, when everybody was riled up, the school didn't really address it at all. And I feel like that should have been done. They should have said something to us.
They just didn't talk to you about it.
They actually didn't want the other teachers to talk to us about it. We were told they just didn't want to spark debate. They didn't want to continue the conversation.
Probably because they thought that would upset you more or something.
I don't know.
Okay. This is one of those things where I feel like our whole society, our whole culture, or maybe it's generational. I don't know. I don't want to make a sweeping statement, but there is a general consensus of don't talk about it, sweep it under the rug, and then it's not really there. And it's not just this issue; it's lots of issues, and so I hate that. It just triggers me every time.
and the like secrecy of it, kind of, because we do have like state required drills for active shooters. Like whether they're inside the building, outside the building, we have different drills for all of it that we have to do monthly. It's as common as a fire drill for us now. Like we do it as much as any other natural disaster drill or anything like that. So that's crazy to me. And also, they don't tell us what they will say if there is a shooter in the building.
Do they say if it were real, we would tell you? Do they say that? Or
I've heard a lot of different things from a lot of different people in the school. Of course, the office will tell us, they'll come on the speaker over all the whole building and let us know that it's real. But I have heard from numerous teachers that there will actually be a certain noise that comes over the speakers and the students, or it's either a noise or a word or a sentence or something like a code.
But yeah,
and
to let the teachers know.
Yeah, and the students aren't allowed to know what it is. So anytime there's like an odd like noise I hear in the hallway, or like they're on the loudspeaker saying something and then like it squeaks a little bit or just something out of the ordinary, I have a heart attack. Yeah. Like it's so common. It just happened to me last week. And especially like when you're out walking in the hallway or like in the bathroom, because they tell the teachers not to let anybody in the rooms when it happens.
Yeah.
So what are you supposed to do when you're in the hallway?
We have talked about this, you and me. Yeah. They don't tell you. If you're in the hallway, you're like, well, I guess I'm caught then because no one's going to help me.
Yeah.
That's how you feel.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I just wish they would do a better job of preparing us and preparing the teachers and just telling us, hey, this is what you do if you're in this situation, and we will do our best to protect you. Right. Because that's not what it feels like.
And does anyone on your school grounds carry a gun, like defensively?
I mean,
like your security guards?
The security guards don't, but I mean, I don't know how it is for every other school, but I know for like the public schools here, every school will have a police officer that's like reserved for your school only, and they have an office at your school and their car is always there. Like they work at your school for the police station. So they are the only person on school grounds that carry a gun. But other than that, nothing.
And I've been to your school to pick you up, and I feel like sometimes that police car is there and sometimes it's not. Are they definitely there all day?
Yeah, they're definitely there all day. I don't know exactly where they park or like anything like that, but like I know that they're there all day. They have a specific office in the school and stuff, but it's one big school and one person.
Right.
So
right. Ugh. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about this because that's scary, and it's an extra layer of stress that my generation definitely didn't have to think about. So it's just crazy. It's so stressful. No wonder more and more kids are having anxiety in general, but also panic attacks and that kind of thing at school. It's just terrible. Okay. So, oh my goodness, so many other things I want to talk about. Okay. So school though, I know we've painted like a really bleak picture right now, but it's not all totally terrible.
No, it's not.
Okay. Right. So one awesome thing that you're doing is you're going to graduate a year early.
Yeah. I'm a sophomore right now, but I am basically skipping my junior year, and next year I will be a senior.
Which is crazy, and I'm having a weird like crisis about. So let's skip right over that part. That I'm going to be the mother of a senior next year all of a sudden. It's like no time to prepare. But for you, it's really cool because I know you have a lot of plans for your future, which again, I did not have when I was your age. I think I maybe thought like ahead to the following weekend. That's pretty much it. But also my parents didn't really ever talk about college. I think looking back, if I had to guess, it's because they couldn't afford to send me to college and they felt bad about that maybe, but whatever the reason, they didn't really talk about it in terms of like, hey, are you going to go? Hey, where are you going to go? Hey, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do with your life? There was never really conversations like that for us. And you and I do have a lot of those conversations, although I will say you start most of them. You are very aware and interested in your own future, which is super cool. Yeah. So you have a lot of different plans, right? What are some of the things that you want to do maybe?
Well, seeing as I'm graduating early, I do want to take a year off of school before I just jump right into college.
Mostly because I told you you're not going to a college campus by yourself at 17.
Anyways, we'll talk about that. So I do want to take a year off so I can work and just save up money for when I do go to college, and maybe try to intern at some law firms and some stuff like that before I further my education in law and stuff, just to give me an upper hand when going to school. And then after that, just see what happens. I want to go to college for law and religious studies, political science. I do want to maybe explore my options for like FBI, just somewhere that will lead me into like a bigger future that will give me the credentials to be a politician and for me to like make a difference. So.
You could do religious studies and you could be like Henry on Madam Secretary, where he does religious studies during the day, but then he's like a spy.
Oh, yeah.
That would be super cool.
Yeah.
Then you could do both.
Yeah. That's my plan.
Okay. But then you wouldn't be able to tell me about it because you'd be a spy. So that really robs me of the excitement. So now I don't know about that. But these are a lot of amazing plans and they all sound really exciting. And I'm so excited and proud of you that you have them and that you've already thought of things that interest you. That's really kind of already putting you ahead of a lot of kids your age.
Oh, yeah.
Just the fact that you've even thought, like, what would sound cool,
Yeah.
I think puts you ahead.
I know none of like my other friends like know what they want to do.
Even your friend who's in the legal studies program.
Yeah.
Probably, does she know like what
she doesn't want to?
She doesn't even want to pursue it.
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. So that's awesome that she got into this like elite academy and just doesn't even want it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of kids though. Like a lot of people don't know what they want to do. And like, I think it just goes back to how school is teaching us.
Yeah. Well, okay. It is okay to not know what you want to do.
Oh, yeah.
It really
I know.
totally is okay. And it's okay to change your mind. And it's like, there's a lot of adults my age and older that still don't know what we want to be when we grow up. So it's like, it's totally fine if you don't, but it's just really cool that you would take an interest in figuring it out already. Because there's a lot of people who don't know because they can't figure it out. They want to figure it out.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to yet. So it's cool that you're getting to know yourself enough to say like, what would I want to do? And what sounds really fun and not like what's just going to pay my bills. Like find something you love.
Yeah.
And all of these things you potentially love. So that makes me happy. That makes me really happy. Okay. So what overall do you wish, like out of your school experience, do you feel like there's anything you wish adults knew or did better or differently or more or less in order to make your experience as a teenager, I don't know, easier, better?
Like in school?
Yeah, school, life, I don't know.
I wish adults, like especially in school, but everywhere in society would like validate kids more and make us feel like we're being heard, even if you don't want to listen. Because I feel like a lot of times, like you said earlier, like we're written off a lot because we're kids and we shouldn't have an opinion or anything like that. So I feel like if adults would listen to us, but not only listen to us, but like actually care what we're talking about, I feel like definitely a better bond between like kids and adults could be made if they did that.
Because right now you probably feel like you're fighting against a lot of the adults, right?
100%.
Because you did a walkout.
Yeah. So when the Parkland shooting happened, and then I'm sure like everybody heard about the national school walkouts, I participated in it. And not only did I participate, but I was one of the leaders for my school. I was one of the representatives. And the adults really didn't like that. They didn't like us speaking out. And it not only was that, we walked out during their classes, but they just didn't think we had any room to be talking. They didn't think we had a say, and they didn't think we had a difference. And they think we just did it to cut class and just get away with something, which is, I can see why they would think that. But if they viewed us more as like people that had an opinion, then I feel like they would see that it was bigger than them and it was bigger than their classes.
Yeah. And are you still like a representative or ambassador? What's it called?
Yeah, I'm a representative for my school specifically.
From the national committee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. So I get texts now and then, like
with different events or walkouts that they're doing.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you decide if you want to participate.
Yeah.
Right. That's really cool. So, there's other things I want to talk about that have to do with being a teenager and what it's like, life as a teen. One of them, another like sort of soapbox issue that I have, is about our conversations about sex, which I know is super embarrassing. And you're already looking at me like, Mom, let's hurry up and just like maybe not talk about this part. I'm not going to go into details or anything like that, but I want to point out that we talk about sex. Like, you might be kind of embarrassed right now, but the fact that I just said the word sex like 3 times in 30 seconds, you're still here. You're cool.
Yeah.
And you're not turning bright red or anything like that. because we do have a decent sort of amount of conversation around the topic, because again, this goes back to like, this is a trigger point for me. And this is like one of my issues is that I grew up like where everything was swept under the rug and nothing was talked about and you just ignored it. There were just so many elephants in the room. You could barely breathe all the time. And so I can't stand that. So now I'm just a big proponent of like, you talk about it. If you want to avoid having something happen that you maybe don't want to happen, then you talk about it. That's the only way. Ignoring it isn't going to avoid, something that you're afraid of. And so that's how I view it. And that's how I've sort of operated as a mom. And I think we talked about it pretty openly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you could probably come to me, hopefully.
Yes, of course.
Okay. And that is really the goal. But I wonder too about like how other parents are and how like other kids your age, you feel like they are maybe as open or not, or as comfortable with their parents or not.
I mean, a lot of my friends have definitely cool parents like you where they're really open about it. But I do know for a fact, like a lot of people that I'm surrounded by, like you say the word sex and they bolt, like they don't want to be involved with any of the conversations because I guess it's not talked about in their house. So you can definitely tell by the person, like if their parents are open with them about it and invite conversation about it or not. So
do you feel like it does make you more, like it normalizes it? So it makes it sort of like, it's not this weird taboo topic that you're going to, that's all mysterious or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's good to talk about it because then like if I have an issue or just questions, concerns, anything, like I know I can come to you. I don't have to Google it. Like I can
still Google it.
Oh my God. Talk to you about
and
it.
If you Google it and there's anything with the words Urban Dictionary, don't ever click on that for sure. You will be sorry. That's good. That's good that you come to me. Yeah. We went to the Pride Fest last summer.
Yeah.
And super fun. And the health department was giving out free condoms. And I grabbed a couple. I grabbed like 4 or 5 of them or something, like a handful because they were free. And you're like, Mom, what are you doing? And I'm just like stuffing them in my purse. I'm like, it's for later. And you're like, what? And so I brought them home and I got you and your brother. So Austin was 12 at that time. So you were 15, he was 12. And I got you into my room that night and I gave you each a condom and I was like, now open it. And like, it needs to be normal.
It does.
Like, it can't be that the first time you ever have sex is the first time you ever lay eyes on a condom.
Yeah.
That is not cool. I mean, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about it from like the adult perspective, from your own perspective, would you want the first time you laid eyes on a condom to be the first time you had to figure out how it all is going to work? No.
That sounds so scary.
That sounds right. Totally. So I think about that. Like, I'm not encouraging you to do anything that I'm not ready or you're not ready to do, but also like, it's just education. And so it's going to make everything feel a lot more normalized and also a lot less mysterious and like, ooh, if you've like hung out with your mom in a condom, I'm just saying like, hopefully that's actually going to have a good effect. And like, you'll associate condoms with your mother.
Oh, I hope not.
That would be awesome.
No.
But I had you guys like take it out. And I just remember Austin looking like he's like holding his all like delicate, like not sure what to do. And he's looking at you and you're like, whatever. And you start like blowing it up like a balloon and just like playing with it. Like it was no big deal. And I think, did Dylan come in when we were doing that?
Yeah.
And he was like, what the f are they doing? And I was like, don't worry about it. It's sex education.
Yeah, I definitely think that happened.
We just needed it to be normal. So then Austin took a cue from you and he was like, oh, okay, it's cool. And so same thing, it was like, it wasn't so serious anymore.
Yeah.
It took a lot of like the mystery, like that bad mysterious. It took a lot of that out of it for you guys. And I'm so glad for that. So, I highly recommend a condom demonstration with your kids. And just, they take their cues from you. I just feel like you take your cues from me. I normalize it. I make it fun and funny or light or like whatever. Like we can talk about whatever and I don't get weird, hopefully, for the most part. And I don't get like embarrassed. And so then you don't either.
Yeah.
And I think that's just so important to me that we've been able to do that. The other thing we've been really kind of open about is talking about marijuana.
Yeah.
And, I mean, part of it is just because that's how I am. I just want to be open. And part of it, I think too, is just because that is where the world is really different from where I was your age.
Yeah.
Because when I was your age, it was illegal everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of relegated to the shadows of like, don't talk about it because it's illegal and whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's not black and white. It's this gray area because like, it's not legal in our state, but it's legal in a lot of other states, either medicinally or recreationally.
I mean, it's legally medically, but you know.
Here?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
For what? What do I have to get? Glaucoma?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Well, we're going to Google that when we're done. Okay. Side note, I'm going to write that down. Anyway, I'm glad you know. I didn't know. Well, I know I just found out CBD oil can be prescribed.
Yeah. Like
a prescription strength in Virginia. It just happened like the end of 2018.
Yeah.
And so I don't even think it's available yet, though, because they were saying that like they have to, the medical board has to like nominate or basically hire the suppliers for the prescription grade stuff. And they haven't even done that yet because it just happened in like October. So I don't know if it's even available.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was really cool. It was really interesting. But yeah, I feel like we're open about it. And I feel like we've had to be just because you can't just say anymore like this is right or wrong and that's it, because it's different everywhere.
Yeah.
And you have to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you feel like, does school talk about it at all?
Oh, it's the devil to the schools. They
still,
of course. I mean, of course you have your chill teachers that when you bring it up, they're like,
right. But like the official curriculum,
but like what they're supposed to tell us is like, it's wrong, like, don't do it, like, it's a gateway drug, like, you're throwing your life away, you're terrible, like, you know, just the basic drug talk.
The basics.
And they just don't put any effort in, you know, making it its own thing, separating it from, you know, like, drugs that are actually bad for you.
Cocaine.
Yeah, like, it's the same.
LSD and marijuana, it's all the same.
It's all the same, you know, so they definitely don't pick and choose which ones they're gonna, like, tell you which are right and wrong. It's all bad. It's all wrong.
So I will tell you a story because you already know this story, most of this story, that the reason I was homeschooled is because when I was in 8th grade, I got in with the wrong crowd, and long story short, I was expelled for marijuana because one of the other kids brought it. I didn't bring it, but one of the other kids brought it. They tried to hand it off to me. I handed it off to somebody else because I was like, hell no, I'm not holding on to this. I know better. And anyway, it was the first year the school was open, so they wanted to send a message to like the school district or whatever. And so they expelled like 4 or 5 of us for like, I didn't have it on me, but like I knew about it. So I just got expelled for the whole year. And it was right before Christmas. So it's a long time. And so I would have had to go to like the alternative school, like for the bad kids or whatever. And I was, my parents didn't want me to do that. They were terrified, and they should have been, because I was a goody goody. I would have gotten murdered at that place. Probably. I would not have survived. I was not tough like I am now. And so they homeschooled me, because my mom was a teacher. And so they got special permission. This was before homeschooling was even a thing. The school board was like, you want to do what? Okay, sure. You're a teacher, do whatever. And they didn't like check in on us. Like we did whatever we wanted. It was kind of nice. But one of the things you might not know about this story is that they pressed charges. I had to go to court. The school pressed charges.
Oh my gosh.
And so I wasn't like arrested because I was a minor. Like they just sent me home, but I had to go to court for it. And my parents hired a lawyer, and my lawyer said, we need to think of some things that you can do that when we go in front of the judge, it'll look good for you, so that you'll get like a lighter sentence or whatever. And so one of the things that he had me do was write an in-depth essay about marijuana, how it grows, what it is, where it comes from, what it's used for, why it's bad, which once you start researching the plant, there's really not a lot that's bad about it, honestly. Yeah. I mean, people can abuse anything, for sure. But like at its core, I mean, that's like saying like, you know, a car is bad because it can kill someone. Well, it depends on who's driving it, you know?
Yeah.
So at 14, I figured that out. And I didn't know anything about marijuana before that. It was the single most educational thing I ever had about marijuana, was that I had to do this essay for my lawyer for court, which to this day, I actually don't really know, like, if it helped. I can't remember. I wasn't part of those conversations because I was a kid. Yeah. So my parents probably handled all of that. I have no idea. When I went in front of the judge, I got probation, but not like, it was just unsupervised probation. Like, don't get in any more trouble for this long and you're fine. And then it was dismissed. And I got, I couldn't get my license until I was 16 and a half. I had to wait 6 months after to get my license. That was like my sentence or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know if you knew all of that. So that's
I didn't, but thank you for that.
So see, this is why, because this is what we always talk about, you and I, when I talk to you about marijuana, is, again, at its core, and I know this now, thanks, lawyer, whoever you were, I don't remember your name, taught me that at its core, it's a plant. It can be used for good. It can also be used for bad if people abuse it. And so there is no like real right or wrong that way. And then as research shows now, medically speaking, it's amazing. It's doing amazing things for people for all kinds of different conditions and diseases and illnesses. And so I think that's really, really cool. But we live in a state where it's illegal for you, especially at 16. And I always come back to, and we have to respect the law.
Yes.
And now you know why. Because I learned the hard way, you have to respect the law. And I learned the hard way what the consequences can be if you don't. And it was terrible. It was a terrible experience.
Well, that's crazy to me that you guys got expelled, because now people come to school high all the time and they get high fives. They get nothing.
Or if you get anything, it would be what, like in-school suspension or
a detention. Or a call home.
Oh my gosh. I grew up in the wrong generation.
It's just so normal now. Of course, it's what my school's known for, though. But, it's just so normal now that, it's really, they don't do anything to stop it.
Can I say, though, because you've told me this before, your school is like the weed school.
Yeah.
And then the school in the next district over is the cocaine school.
Yeah.
And can I just tell you that I'm really glad that you ended up at the weed school? If it had to be anywhere, that's all I'm saying. I'd much rather worry about all your classmates being high than all your classmates being coked out.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel safer as your mom. So that's cool. But it's terrible that that's like a thing. I've met kids that go to a completely different school than you, and I've said that at your birthday party when I was talking to Carson, who goes to Ocean Lakes. And I was like, yeah, I know Brooke school's like the weed school, and then whatever other school it was like, this is the coke school, and he was like, yep. And I was like, what? And everyone just knows that. That's
even crazy. The teachers.
That's so scary to me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's not different than when I was in school, for sure. All that stuff was still around. It was still accessible, even to a homeschooled girl. It was still accessible. I knew where to get it all. But as a parent, it's just scary. So, I'm cool. I'm cool with where you ended up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're wrapping up. I think we covered a lot of stuff. I don't know. Is there anything else that we want to share with them about all of our different, I feel like these were our ranting topics.
Yeah.
Kind of. We rant about these types of things a lot to each other.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know. Just teachers saying stupid stuff, and we rant about global politics a lot, and we didn't talk too much about that today. Yeah. We'll probably have to do another episode to cover that.
That's going to take a long time.
It's going to take a long time.
Yes.
And it's going to be a real rant.
Yeah.
We're going to need extra water. We're going to get worked up.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, but this has been so much fun. Okay, so I know we talked about a lot, and I know you were speaking for a lot of the kids your age, and which was awesome. What we do at the end of every episode, I'm sure you know by now, is we say one thing we want to leave all of our honeys with, one final thought or idea, or maybe you could either speak to the parents of kids your age, or you could speak to the kids your age who are maybe listening to this and just I don't know, what would you want to tell them?
Well, can I do both?
Do both.
So I would say to the parents, listen to your children and give them room to share different views than you. Don't push something on them just because you believe it. Give them room to have their own views, and you'll definitely be amazed of the person that they will turn into. And then for kids, just don't be afraid to have your own opinion. Don't be afraid to go against maybe what your parents are thinking or what society is trying to tell you, because you can make a difference, whether it's being Secretary of State or leading the walkout in your school or just standing up to your teacher. Just, you can do whatever you want if you just put your mind to it and you're not afraid to do that.
Oh my gosh, that was the best pep talk. You covered everybody. I don't even need to say anything. I will say that my attitude about parenting changed a lot after Tyler was born. So I had a third child. So I have Brooke, I have Austin, and then I had Tyler. And Tyler was born with a heart condition, and we didn't know that before he was born. And so it was a big shock on delivery day. And he almost died as they were delivering him. And then they revived him, and he lived for 5 days before he passed away. And it's a whole episode by itself, I'm sure. But, and so it was terrible, but it was also beautiful in a lot of ways. There was a lot of hope through that time, and people were amazing. And anyway, it really touched me, and it touched me in a way that affected how I view my role as a parent and then my kids and who they are to me. And it made me realize that, my kids don't belong to me. My job is to make sure that you don't need me anymore. That is our job as parents. It's to make sure that we can put you out into the world and like set you free in the wild and that you're good to go. I mean, it's great to feel needed. And I think that it's easy to get caught up in, as a parent, especially when your kids are young and like, they do need you for survival. And like, I had to feed you so that you lived and, those kinds of things. When you're little, it was easy for me to get caught up in that, like attachment sort of. But after we lost Tyler, I realized like that attachment is really kind of an illusion. And it's also got an expiration date. And so it helps a lot for me to let you go and like encourage you to be your own person. And try to like think of you like you're not just my daughter. You are completely your own individual person. You should have all your individual opinions. I should not agree with all of them because I don't want a carbon copy of me. Don't remind me I said that next time we're yelling at each other.
Well, I got it on tape, so I'll just pull this back up next time.
Oh shit. Okay, so that's my last little bit. I think it's just, I know it's easy to like kind of hold on so tight that we're like sort of suffocating them. And I still do that for sure. Brooke's like, Mom, yes, you do it all the time. She's giving me a look, but I think for me, my goal is to try to let go more and remember that really my role here is just to send you out there. And you're already going, so I don't want to hold you back. So thank you for doing this episode, and thank all of you honeys for tuning in. I'm almost crying, but I'm not going to, so we're going to sign off before that happens, and we'll see you guys next time. Later!
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Raw Honeys podcast. If so, please share it with a friend or post a review. Heather, Chelsea, and I would love to connect with you. Check us out on Instagram at The Raw Honeys or join our community of honeys on Facebook. Thanks for listening. We wish you nothing but big love.